Our presenter today is Miss Jeannine Brinkley, and she's coming to us from SPAN, the Parent Advocacy Network. And the workshop today is New Jersey Inclusive Higher Education Options. The floor is yours, Miss Jeannine.
Thank you very much, April. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to see a nice sized group here, and I hope that the information I share is helpful for you. I am the Director of Family and Professional Development for SPAN Parent Advocacy Network. We are a Parent Training Information Center, and we provide a lot of support services. We empower and educate families, youth, young adults, and the professionals that serve them around issues related to education, healthcare, and many, many other things. So let's get started to let me share my screen and we can move forward. Share the right screen. Alrighty. Thing. This all set up. Okay, now I'm good. All right, so inclusive higher education in New Jersey is a fairly recent, inclusive higher education in general for students with disabilities has been evolving. And in the last 10 years, especially, there have been a number of programs funded by grants and other things to support the opportunity for higher education experiences for all students. But if you're not aware of that, that there are those opportunities, you may not plan appropriately for a course of study in high school that would lead to that and other things. So we want to make sure that everyone's aware that it's a possibility, and hopefully we'll see more and more young people with disabilities participating in higher education. So today I'm going to focus on defining post-secondary education, and then we'll discuss various opportunities for students who specifically have intellectual and developmental disabilities. And then I'm going to share with you some additional sources of information about inclusive higher education if you would like to learn more. We have a great page on our website that we're going to go to and look at shortly. So just a little context, I'm sure you all know this, but New Jersey regulations require that transition planning begins at age 14 or earlier. And both the federal law and New Jersey regulations require that at age 16, the IEP team includes specific, measurable post-secondary goals that are based upon transition assessments. And those assessments should assess 4 areas: training, education, employment, and where appropriate, independent living skills. So today we're going to focus on training and education options, so that when you're assessing a person, you don't want to limit to only the things that you're familiar with. You want to aim high, right? So if the IEP team considers post-secondary education as an outcome throughout the student's educational career, this has implications for many aspects of their K-12 education. So identifying post-secondary education and higher education as a goal should lead the IEP team to identify specific skills and experiences that the student needs to learn across their school years that will prepare them for the greatest likelihood of success in that environment. I know sometimes there are questions about what a course of study is, but the course of study or schedule of classes that the student takes each year, especially when they get to high school, it needs to be planned to make sure they will meet requirements for graduation and include electives that will support the student's goals for after high school. So there are a number of different options for education after high school. We are going to focus in on college today, but know that there are vocational and technical programs or schools, apprenticeships, adult education and continuing education, employer-provided job training, and pre-apprenticeship programs, like, for example, like Job Corps. Some of the considerations to think about as you're thinking about what your young person that you're teaching or supporting, or the young person himself is, you need to think about what's realistic and appropriate, what skills would be needed to be successful. Is the youth taking the regular high school exams? Do they need to take the ACT or SAT? And what accommodations are needed and allowable? So those are some questions to consider as you think about what sort of education a child or young person would need after high school. And it's important to realize, and just a reminder, that there are some differences between high school and post-secondary education. So IDEA, which is special education law and regulation, it focuses on success. And in high school, both accommodations and modifications are required. So course requirements can be reduced, for example, in depth, breadth, or complexity in order to provide access to the general curriculum. But in college, only accommodations are required to be provided. So the learning expectations are not required to be changed because a student has a disability. From birth to age 21, you know that students have a right to a free appropriate public education. But in higher ed, a student must meet requirements and have resources to participate in post-secondary education, like money, for example. Another difference is that the responsibility to identify students with disabilities and evaluate them to identify strengths and needs and develop an IEP falls on the school, again, when the kids are at K-12. But in college, a student must self-identify or self-disclose their disability and request the services that they need. This is why it's very important for students to learn about their disability and needed supports while they're in high school so that they are comfortable sharing and advocating for themselves. So just a bit about the variety of services that are available for students in post-secondary education. Most colleges fall into the basic category. Many colleges provide extra supports for all freshmen, for example, including writing and study skills instruction, campus and resource orientation. Most colleges also have writing or math centers available to all students at no charge. All colleges have a disability services office, but again, students need to initiate that, self-disclose, and talk about their needs and accommodations. The next level is coordinated services. This is a higher level of supports offered for students with disabilities at some colleges. In this, to make the best use of coordinated supports, a student needs to be a moderately active self-advocate. They often offer a learning center with services for students with disabilities, disability specialists and professionals. There are group workshops generally rather than individual supports. There's no additional cost for the services, and they may offer additional accommodations. But what we're going to focus on today is specialized programs for students with disabilities, like intellectual and developmental disabilities. They often offer a non-degree or certificate program. New Jersey has several programs like this that SPAN collaborates, partners with 3 of those programs that I'll talk about in a minute. But there are many more as well in New Jersey, other than the 3 that we partner with. The QR code on this slide or the link here will take you to a website that where you can get more information on the vast array of programs in New Jersey. We also, on our website, we have information about financial aid, because that's an important consideration, because even if it's a program designed for students with intellectual disabilities, there's still a fee for application, tuition to be paid, etc. But in these programs that are comprehensive, there usually is an individualized support plan for a young person, and there's greater opportunity for one-to-one support. Let's take a look at those programs that we participate with. And when I take you to our website in a few minutes, you'll be able to download this flyer if you're interested in doing that. But We partner with Bergen Community College. They have a Turning Point program. That's a 2-year program, and it's inclusive and it's non-residential. So the programs can be residential, like traditional, where you live in a dorm. It can be a 4-year degree, it can be a 2-year degree. It really varies. So it's important to learn about all of the variables and anticipate what would be the best fit for a young person as we're thinking about this. Then we also partner with the College of New Jersey. They have what's called the Career and Community Studies program. This is a 4-year program, and it's designed to prepare students for adult life. Now, you can see also that this is for students with intellectual disabilities who are aged 18 to 25. Something to think about is sometimes, as you know, students with intellectual disabilities stay in school, they walk for graduation, but they don't collect their diploma, and then they can receive additional services between ages 18 and 21. One of these programs might be a great option for providing some services during that time frame. And then the final one we collaborate with is Georgian Court University. They have, again, a 4-year transition and post-secondary program. They focus on career development, and they have inclusive residential programs. So that's also a residential program. So you can, when we get to your website, if you want to learn more about each of those programs, there are links to that. And also, as part of our work with these programs, we are collecting perspectives from families, especially about education after high school, to gauge, how much do you know about it, and other things. It's a short survey, but if you scan the QR code on this slide and take a few minutes to complete the survey, we would really appreciate that. We compile the responses periodically and share them with these colleges that we collaborate with to help them understand the needs and the information that's needed by families and young people. So this is a screenshot of our webpage about education after high school. The QR code and the URL on the slide take you to that page. I'm going to take us there now and give a bit of a tour so that you are aware of the many resources that we have available on that website. I think I have to stop sharing and do a new screen. Are you guys seeing the actual website?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I always want to check because, I can't necessarily tell in 10 minutes in, people say, we're still seeing the slide. So you can see we have information about general information about post-secondary education, New Jersey inclusive higher education program options, other post-secondary options, and I'm going to scroll down in a minute. A great resource about disability disclosure and other general information on college application and admissions. Okay, so let me just go down. So at the top of the page, you see this is where you can also take the survey. And then here we have information about post-secondary higher education for young people with disabilities. This link will take you to information from the U.S. Department of Education about grants that they provide to support this kind of education. You can download our flyer here as well, if you're interested. And then these are 3 excellent resources at the bottom of the page, or not the bottom, at the bottom of this section, where you can learn more about post-secondary options. This is the New Jersey Department of Education's transition toolkit on their website. I'm sure that's been shared earlier this week. This is the U.S. Department of Ed resources, and then Think College is a fabulous resource. It's full of great information. There's sections specifically for families and for young people. All the topics you might ever want to learn about, you can go learn them there. And these are, again, the 3 programs that we partner with. You can see a little bit of information about them. And then as we move down, we have some information about developing an IEP that would increase the likelihood of leading to post-secondary education. So even from early on, students need to have high expectations, right? And so we want to make sure that the course of study is planned appropriately. So if, for example, if a graduation requirement is that you need to have 2 years of a foreign language, then we want to make sure that that child has opportunity to do that. We also, just like any kid in high school, want them to be involved in school or community-based activities that let them do career exploration. I'm sure you've heard this week about pre-ETS services, which are services from OBR to help kids who are in high school get ready for adult life and potential work and education. They should meet with their school guidance counselor to discuss career goals like vocational and educational goals, programs of study, college requirements, etc. And we really want students to be an active participant in their IEP meetings. And we at SPAN offer workshops on student-led IEPs. And also tomorrow afternoon, you're going to hear from a couple of my colleagues, if you log in, about strategies that we can use along the way to prepare students to lead their own IEP meeting and to support them in doing so. Some other things that we show here that will, opportunities to engage in these activities, again, will build skills that can be utilized in post-secondary education as well as in life and work. So things like exploring assistive technology, what assistive technology is available that can help. And we have some great recorded assistive technology webinars on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and search SPAN Parent Advocacy Network, you can see there's an assistive technology playlist. Some of the things that we've highlighted there with our colleague, partner Adam Krass, are things like what kind of assistive technology can you use to support an individual who has needs for executive functioning support? What about note-taking? What about math? And, you know, right now in this world, technology is available almost too much sometimes, right? So it may not be, you may not be thinking it's assistive technology, but it's just technology that we use, you use, I use, and a lot of devices. This is another recorded workshop we have. A lot of devices have built-in accessibility features that you can access without adding on any other special apps or anything like that. So assistive technology and technology in general are great things for kids, young people to explore. And you want the young person to be involved in making decisions, because again, when you get to college, you have to make those decisions, but you need to practice that while you're in high school. Also self-advocacy skills, practicing those, understanding strengths and needs, etc. This next section of our website focuses on the IEP, and I'm not going to read it to you because you can all read for sure. But I encourage you to take a look at this section as well. And again, that transition planning, that discussions should start at age 14, and the young person should be included in that conversation and engaged in that. We have differences between high school and college that I went over earlier. And then this is the resource, What is Disability Disclosure? And it's excellent. It's a great resource. It applies to disclosing your disability at work or in education. And it has a lot of great information about the ADA and the Rehab Act and what they require of entities like schools and higher education, universities, etc. Then we have a section here on the college application and admission process. Because again, there are timelines that you have to, anybody who's ever parented a young person who's going to college, it's a learning curve, right? So you have to learn about eligibility for federal financial aid. How do you fill out that FAFSA? How do you prepare for an interview? We have great information there. We have information about New Jersey DVR services that may be able to help support higher education leading to a career. And then we have some more links to additional resources. So going to college.org, this is the link to those New Jersey college programs for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Some of the other resources that we have. We have our great Youth in the Know page on our SPAN website. I'm going to link to that for just a minute to make sure you're aware of that being there as well. And are there any questions that I should respond to before I look at this other website? Let's look.
Not in the chat yet, Jeannine.
Okay, great. Please don't hesitate to type into the chat, and at the end we can allow you to unmute if you want to ask a question that way. But this is SPAN's Youth in the Know page, and it has great resources. We have the SPAN Youth Hub, which is a blog, and we have a youth chat that is every Wednesday, and the flyer for those will be shared tomorrow. We also have a youth advisory council, and we're currently seeking applicants, young people that would like to participate in that and build their leadership skills. So this link would take you to that application. We have some great information about empowerment and self-advocacy. We are a partner in the Youth Voice, Youth Choice, which is a national movement to learn about alternatives to guardianship. Lots of other empowerment, self-advocacy. We have health transition resources, independent living transition resources, and these have all just been updated. So again, education and then employment. So I think that is the majority of what I was going to share. But I want to just talk a little bit about SPAN and make sure you're aware of all of our resources. We offer lots of virtual resources. We also offer in-person workshops. Most of them are free of charge, as long as the hosting organization is willing to open the presentation up to let us advertise broadly. We schedule virtual workshops on a regular basis, and we do that via Eventbrite. So if you follow SPAN on Eventbrite, you'll get notified of any new workshops that are open for registration. We also, as I said, we have a YouTube channel where we have lots of recorded workshops. And excuse me, we have a Facebook page and some groups on there as well that you might want to think about joining. SPAN also, we create resources, we go to exhibits, we offer some more intensive training for families and professionals called the SPAN Resource Parent course, which is a 6-week course if you take it in person and 8 weeks if you do the virtual. It is designed to educate and empower folks so that they have information that they can share with others. We're just wrapping up one in the South next week, and we will be offering our virtual course in January, beginning in January. So lots to offer. If you don't know about SPAN, check us out. And I know I didn't take my whole entire hour, but I think I've covered everything we needed to cover. And if there are any questions or comments, I would be happy to take those.
Yes, we have one. What kind of issues, sorry, can't think of a better word, would extinguish an individual's opportunity to attend college?
So I think a few things. I don't know that I would say extinguish, but I would look. That's why it's so important to look ahead, right? So that if a individual has challenges with independence, for example, learning to make the right decisions, you want to practice that when they're in school. There are some college campuses that are more physically accessible than others, so that's an important consideration. Certainly, an individual doesn't have to necessarily speak to go to college. They can use another way to communicate. And you want to make sure it's a good match, right? So just not like not every high school senior goes to college. Some of them choose another path, like vocational technical school or some of those other things. You want to make sure that it's the right match for the individual. I hope that helped. If you want to unmute and ask or further elaborate, you're welcome to do that.
Yes, they put in, for example, pica.
Well, I think anything like that would be require supervision to be that a young person might be in danger and to have a chance of harming themselves. You'd really need to plan carefully and work with, you would definitely want a comprehensive program and want to really look at what supports and services are needed for that young person. I don't think any of the programs, they definitely don't have a list that says if you have, if you demonstrate any of these challenges, then you're not eligible. But again, I think you want to look and see what is the best match for that young person that will allow them to learn, to become as independent as possible, and to be safe at the same time.
Here's another question. If there are no modifications in college classes, how would the Georgian Court College program you mentioned help someone with an intellectual disability and higher functioning autism? My son is successful with resource room classes, but with a paraprofessional's help.
That's a great question. So let me clarify. In the way the rules are, the law, they're not required to make modifications in higher education, but the programs that are designed for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities often do make modifications. So they could definitely make modifications. There could be an individual to assist that person. That would be fine. It's just that like if you look at colleges across the board, they're not required to provide modifications, but most of these programs do offer modifications. So for example, if typically you have to take 15 credits, in a semester, they may have that reduced for an individual with intellectual disabilities. So they definitely can make modifications. They just don't have to. And
So is one-to-one not an option for college?
Is one-to-one not an option for college? Well, I wouldn't say it's not an option, but I would say we'd probably have to really explore how that would be funded, for example. So if an individual really requires that support for safety, then I think we would work with the team, work with the ERS, work with the college, maybe get the Department of Human Services involved. And so it's not a rule out, but it would be something that would have to be figured out because again, we don't have the entitlement, it's the eligibility. So you have to figure out what services you're eligible to receive. And then can any of those fund and support one-on-one aid? Great questions.
Another question is, can an IDD student who remains in district until age 21 potentially also attend class at a local college? We live in Morris County. Thank you. SPAN is an amazing organization.
Absolutely. So when a student remains in school between 18 and 21, the programming that happens during the educational programming during those 3 years are supposed to be focused on transition, supporting that child to make a smooth transition. So actually, I think any child can dual enroll in have high school courses and college courses, but definitely they could do that. Now you need to probably advocate for that. I don't know that the school district is going to put that out there. It probably varies from school district to school district, but again, starting early, talking about that's the kind of need that your young person has and that you would want to build skills so that when they're in that 18 to 21-year-old services, that part of those services are education at a college. I mean, I worked with a team a long time ago that I'm old, but they were really innovative. And this was before there were any these specific programs. But when the young person turned 18, they decided that her schedule should look like a third of the week she would be taking classes in high school that are practical application classes that would work for her. Then another third of her week, she would be taking classes at a community college. And then the last third of the week, she was having experiences in the community, like job sampling and other community, say, mobility training, things like that. And so they used those last 3 years to really build up those skills and opportunities that she had. And that's definitely something, that's the individualized part of the IEP. I don't know if we've had any sessions this week on person-centered planning, but utilizing a person-centered planning approach to think about a child's future and thinking about where do we want them to be at graduation and working backwards can be really powerful in identifying maybe atypical opportunities for what a child's school day looks like, especially between ages 18 and 21.
And then the follow-up is, well, what about online classes? Would that be an option for a student?
I mean, I would have to assume it would be. I don't think any of the 3 programs that we partner with offer online classes for students in that program. But I would certainly think that if a college is offering online classes, and again, we'd have to look at what kind of support is needed, right? So do we need someone to be with the young person while they're doing the online class to make sure they can access it, they stay focused, and they're safe? Then you could definitely get a plan together to do that, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sure.
If anyone else
appreciate the
has
question.
any other questions, please feel free to either unmute yourself or you can leave it in the chat.
Oh, I see another question here. Interesting. If the family funds a one-to-one aid with IDD support, does the college have to allow the one-to-one in classes without requiring that they pay tuition for the one-to-one aid? That's a good question. So here, I'll give you my best answer. I definitely would clarify this, but I would think in the same way as a student disclosing their disability and saying that they needed, notes to be provided in advance, or they needed accommodations in terms of how they take notes, how they learn, extra time for tests, that they could also disclose that they need a one-on-one person to be with them as an accommodation, and the college would allow that, as long as the student self-disclosed and named that as an accommodation. Someone's asking, what is IDD support? Excuse me. I think what she's referring to is the funding that's available for young people after they turn 21 to support their learning and participation in the community. So I don't know, April, maybe you can add a little more to that than I did.
Yes, Jill, is that what you meant for what is the IDD support? Just to clarify, over 21. Yes, so there was a previous workshop that covered this, and we'll make sure that information is available. But when a young person transitions from the New Jersey Children's System of Care into adult DDD, they will be assigned a worker. And then I believe the family can make the choice of going with a care coordination agency that will help navigate the funding that is available for an IDD adult. And then the supports, I believe, were also about the supports in school, support for being intellectually, developmentally disabled with the school component, Jeannine. So are there general supports that the schools that you mentioned available for young persons?
Yes, there definitely are. But again, each one is different. So I would definitely reach out, look at their website. We have the links on our website to get you there, and set up a tour, set up a visit. Talk to, take your young person and go visit, check it out. Because they all 3 have a very different focus in terms of how they, so what is the structure and what are the array of offerings? How much choice does the young person have in terms of what they're learning? So I would definitely encourage you to explore further, for sure.
The other follow-up is there anything for 18 to 21-year-olds? And I think that circles back to what you were saying, Jeannine, about speaking with the child study team regarding the IEP. And if the young person is opting in to remain in the school setting up until 21, there may be an option for that young person to take some college courses while also receiving high school education, but that would need to be advocated for and discussed in those child family team meetings with the school. In addition, there are the services under New Jersey's Children's System of Care. We work with the youth up to the age of 21, and then we hold roundtables with the local DDD offices, just so we can, pass the baton, let them know what we've been working on, what's working, what's not working, kind of where we left off. So there's a smoother transition from Children's System of Care into the adult DDD world. But I do hear you, Jill. There are a lot of limited resources within the community for this 18 to 21 gap, because even though you're applying for adult DDD starting as young as 18, those services and fundings do not become available until the young person is 21 or older. So it is a lot of navigating these various resources and options, which can become a little overwhelming, which is why we're here to help support and share those resources to help families. But great questions. Excellent.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Makes it much more engaged. Jill, if you need some help, some additional assistance, you can always reach out to SPAN's Warm Line to get have someone help you kind of talk through what are your priorities, what might be some strategies you could use to advocate successfully, etc. So please don't hesitate to reach out to our Warm Line, and somebody will get back to you within a few days, and they can help talk you through your questions too on an individual basis.
Can you drop that phone number, Jeannine, in the chat box, please?
Well, certainly I can. Right on my slide here, so I don't even have to remember it. Handy.
Excellent.
And you can also go to our website and submit via email a request for assistance as well. What the heck did I do? Sorry, I hit a button I shouldn't have hit. I have it in the chat, I just can't press enter. Oh, sorry. Window went. I've never had this window pop up on my machine before.
First time for everything.
I know, of course, but I'm trying to do something that like this. Let me read it and then I'll try to make sure it is on the last slide in our presentation too, but it's 800-654 SPAN, which is 7726. So 800-654-7726. And from my perspective, I think that's a wrap, unless there are any other questions or comments. Everybody gets a little extra break. Thank you, April, and Amy both. I don't know, I can't get this window to disappear off my screen.
No worries, that's okay. A lot of thank yous coming in through the chat box. Well, that concludes the workshop today. We got to meet with Jeannine Brinkley from SPAN, Parent Advocacy Network, and she discussed New Jersey inclusive higher education options with us. Thank you so much, Jeannine, for sharing your knowledge and your resources.
Absolutely. And you guys did a great job organizing the conference. So thanks so much. Everybody have a great afternoon and log in tomorrow to hear some more good sessions.